Allyson Apsey, very, very nice to meet you all the way in northern lower Michigan. Dr. Apsey, what's going on?
Today I'm Dr. Apsey. Yes.
Well, I'm Uncle Skeleton. I got my friends in the background. I've got the whole crew here, the whole team
Captain
is here.
Bones.
Yep, and I've got Captain Dr. Worcester, who is a pirate, not a troubadour, but a pirate on the show.
Thank you for giving me both names. Give me a captain and a doctor. Captain's fine for today. I will assume that role. Nathaniel, you got to given it's the Halloween episode. You have a great first question. What is it?
So okay, so Allison,
In your best voice.
what's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, well, I'm kind of a wimp, so I don't really like scary movies. So I was thinking I like Beetlejuice, like where like super unrealistic, nobody's gonna chase me down and kill me, never gonna happen in real life, and a little funny.
Oh, that's
I
pretty
think
good.
that Beetlejuice is great.
That's pretty good. Dr. Worcester, what is your favorite scary movie?
I do love Scream.
Mm.
Uh, Scream is great. Weapons was good.
Oh, Weapons was hot, boy. Weapons was good.
For 2025 movies. Weapons, killer. It's great, phenomenal movie. But yeah, I love Scream. It came out just the meta analysis of the whole horror trope, and I think I was thinking about this, and I think what Scream was to prior like horror movies, it was almost like Nirvana to the hair metal bands. It came and it changed the game for what horror movies were and how we approach them. So I think that both in the 90s, right? They're both kind of game changers for the industry. Nathaniel, what about you, pal?
Well, that's a very Gen X thing to say, Dr. Worcester. That Scream would be your favorite movie. Black Phone, believe it or not, is my
Oh.
Okay.
favorite scary movie. And I just took my kids to see Black Phone 2, as
Yeah.
most sequels.
Yep.
It was I.
It
It
was
is
okay. It
okay,
was
but
okay.
man, Allison, did you ever see Black Phone? Did you ever see that movie?
No, like they watch horror movies when I'm traveling for work. I don't feel like I used to like listen to true crime podcasts and I
Oh, that's
stopped
good.
that too because I think like traveling the country by myself,
Yep.
like thinking what might be behind every corner, not a good move.
This is true. This is true. But Allison, are you a fan of like anything like the Halloween stuff? Like, I mean, or is it just whatever? You know what I
Are you
mean?
a
No,
fan of anything?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of anything. I like fall. I like the change of seasons. I live in Michigan. It's northern Michigan. It's
I
beautiful
can
here.
imagine.
So I love all the coziness and the smells and just and I'm okay with like putting scary stuff up in my house, just not being scared like jump scares in a movie.
Yeah, I was just at Knott's Berry Farm. I had a chance to go to the LA area to do some
Mhm.
work. And I was talking with Dr. Worcester. I was like, is there anything to do? Like, I only have like an afternoon. What am I going to do? And so finally, I was like, I'm going to go to Knott's Scary Farm, right? Knott's Scary Farm. It was fantastic. It was like so well done. And I just like walking around and, I love the jump scares and I love like all the animatronics and people in costumes. I love all that stuff, man. It's pretty cool. So, Allison, as a kid, we all had like that one costume, right? Or that one
Mm.
Halloween thing. Do you have a favorite costume that you remember wearing? Or and Dr. Worcester, I'm gonna ask you the same question.
Well, I mean, I was a little rebellious and I went to Catholic school. So
Oh.
I did go to a dance as a pregnant nun.
Ooh, that'll get you. Well, no, that'll get you in trouble, but that'll get you a
Yeah.
couple Hail Marys right there. You know what I mean?
Right, right, yes.
What about you, Dr. Worcester?
So not as a kid, but as an adult, we were celebrating. My school had like a whole Back to the Future theme going on because it was the year they traveled to in Back to the Future. It was like 2018. I'm not sure, but I dressed up as Marty McFly.
Mm.
My school counselor got a DeLorean to come out. It was great, so I loved it. So Marty McFly was kind of my favorite. What about you?
Well, growing up, everything was DIY. There was no costumes, right? We didn't even like buy candy. My mom just made stuff, you know what I mean, and threw it. And so it wasn't my favorite costume, but it was probably the worst costume. I think I was like Frankenstein. My parents kind of made me like a Frankenstein, but I had to wear my dad's boots. And when I'm talking, when we went out miles. So I had like raw, bloody blisters like on my feet and my toes and everything. And Very memorable, very, very, very memorable when you DIY in Tennessee. So, anyway, so hey, it's a fun time. We're gonna have a spooktacular episode with Allison. You know, your timing is great. And Eric, let's jump right into it, man. Let's go ahead and ask Allison the first question.
Allison, we always like to start and just hear about people's backgrounds and what got you into education. So, what's your origin story, Allison Apsey?
Yes, so I was a little bit naughty, like under the radar student. I did not enjoy school, other than like the social aspect. And when I graduated from high school, I said, I don't know what I want to be, but I do not want to be a teacher because I never want to step foot in a
Mm,
K-12 building again. And then just by chance, maybe like serendipity, a happy accident, I one of my college courses got canceled and I had to replace it. It was a psychology class, and the only class I could replace it with was an educational psychology class. And I was the only person in there who did not want to be an educator, but I had to volunteer in a classroom anyway. And I volunteered in my aunt's first grade classroom. And I remember looking in the faces of those sweet kids, and I'm like, "You're so cute, you're so
mm,
sweet, and you have 12 years of torture ahead of you." And I didn't realize it then, but I do now that like I making a difference is one of my core values. And I am called to be the change that I see needs to happen in the world. And that was the case when I was 18 years old or 19 years old also. So if I wanted things to be different in education, I thought, well, I need to become that and be a
mm.
teacher and at least have 1 year be spectacular and different for
Mm.
students.
Allison, I think you mentioned in your book a superlative you got when you were a senior in high school.
Oh, class sleeper?
Class sleeper.
I actually
That's
kind of,
awesome.
I know, I actually campaigned a little for that. Like
All right.
that's how ridiculous I was.
Oh my
Nathaniel,
gosh.
did you have one of those?
I was most school spirit.
Most school
Oh.
spirit.
Shocker. Look at this. Come on now. All right. You know, I was most senior, most school spirit. So
Ooh.
look, what about you, Dr. Worcester? Do you have anything?
I don't think I had one. It may have been most likely to end up a pirate or homeless. So I'm over
or,
two of those.
or a homeless pirate.
Or homeless.
I
So
also got best eyes. I didn't mention
Oh,
oh
that, but
no.
yeah.
That's
that's
even
pretty
better than
good.
best sleeper.
Yes, you got to work really, really hard for that one. I mean, that one is like
Yeah.
you got to work really hard for that one. Allison, I got a question for you. What the heck is action research? Because I know what
Yeah.
research means and I know what action, but what is action research? Is that like researching on a treadmill? Like what is action research?
Right.
What is that? What does that
That,
mean?
It
that's from your new book, right? Let's talk more action.
It is, yes. I know, and it's kind of a scary term because when we think of research, we think of like intense studying and scholarly research, but it's really just a process of identifying a challenge, but like getting specific, like refining that challenge so we understand what that challenge really is and what the root of the challenge is. And then we implement a strategy or a practice to address that challenge and then track the results and then adjust. It is super simple, but it's a problem solving method or process that can work across, I mean, any organization, but absolutely across the challenges we're facing in schools.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example? So
Yeah.
I'm a third grade teacher and my students are not picking up fractions. What do we do?
Yeah.
How do I action research that guy?
So, can I give you an example that happened last week? We can talk about
Absolutely.
your third grade teacher too, but so a lot of my life is being a collaborative team coach or a PLC coach, or in Ohio they call them teacher-based teams, whatever you call them. But I was working with a group of, I worked with every grade level one day last week, and then the special education teachers came in, and they're like, this PLC stuff just, it's never been for us. Like, it just doesn't address what our kids need. And so I said, how about we set aside like, the questions and let's just dive into action research. So what's a challenge you all are facing? And I just drew the action research cycle up and I said, let's focus on this right now. And what's a challenge you're facing? Well, they were facing a challenge that the support staff in their classrooms either didn't understand expectations or there wasn't accountability. They didn't really understand their role. So they weren't having the impact on student learning and on the classroom that they could have. And so we refined the challenge just to get down to like what's actually happening in the classrooms. What are we seeing consistent from classroom to classroom? Because there were 4 special ed teachers in the room. And then we brainstormed different strategies or
Mm.
practices we could put into place to address that challenge.
How do they know how to brainstorm that? Or what gave them the ideas to research or look into?
As far as like how like what practices they might put into
Yes.
place.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, as in with any collaborative team, like the genius is in the room, right? Like so, there was teachers with experience who have tried different things to help support staff and um, support students and help
Hmm.
with accountability. And so they had an idea. They had a like a PowerPoint presentation they had used at one point a couple years ago. So we had to brainstorm and figure out how they could meet with their support staff, so like the logistics, but then also making sure that the information they're providing is addressing the challenges they identified. So we went through the information in the PowerPoint together.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm this close of getting, PLC tattooed on my neck, right? I mean, I'm this close, right? I was going to get my kids' initials, but I thought that would be better, just right there.
Agreed,
So
agreed.
I am all in, right? And it's not so much PLC work; it's collective teacher efficacy work. Is really what I don't. You can call it whatever 3-letter acronym, but like I am all about the collective brilliance of our teachers, of our teams, our departments, and so teasing you about that action research, that is so much part of what good collective teacher efficacy is. We have a
Absolutely.
specific problem of practice. And as the professionals that are going to be addressing this problem, what do we need to do? How can we enhance our collective brilliance to be able to come up with solutions, try some theories, try some different things, get evidence, look at the evidence of our impacts, step back, what's working, what's not working, do we want to keep on doing this? What do we want to keep doing, start doing, and stop doing? But that whole mindset it's not just a team practice, it's a culture.
It
Allison,
is.
I think, I don't know if you would agree with that. It's a whole culture of how school buildings and school districts want to operate. My challenge when I'm in the field, just like you are, is that getting people to trust themselves,
Mm,
understand that they are hired as professionals and not as a substitute. And if they, with support from their school leaders, can be empowered with agency and advocacy to do that type of work, man, I think that's just when magic happens. But what
it
I'm
is.
seeing, maybe a pandemic issue, maybe just because of just whatever, is no, Allison, use the curriculum with the F word. You know what that F word is, right? What is it? Oh, you
Fidelity.
said it. You
Yeah.
dropped the F bomb. And then, and I get it. The tools and the curriculum have their place as a foundation, but I'm so afraid that in an effort to streamline and provide, I'm going to throw around this word that gets thrown out too much, equitable access to whatever, it's stealing our teachers' collective teacher capacity.
Hmm.
Any thoughts on that, Allison?
I know, and I talk to teachers all the time about this. Like, we're asked to do 2 conflicting things all the time in our lives and educators, probably in our lives in general, but we're asked to follow a district pacing guide, but also respond to student learning needs.
Mm,
So it's
Mm.
this question of like, how do we do both of these things at once? And that is why we need each other, because we cannot figure that out alone, and we can't do one without the other. We have to do both.
yeah.
Allison, I'm gonna key in on your outfit right now. Let's say the 3 of us are in a hospital, and Nathaniel, we're gonna operate on you since you got the bones put on there. Do you think the best thing we could do for the best outcome would just be, and let's say the 3 of us, we've got no history, or maybe we watched ER or The Pit, which I've never seen, but I hear it's a good show. That's our background experience. Are we qualified to do action research on Nathaniel for a good outcome to happen? Would the answer be in that
No.
room? I guess that's the question I have is what information needs to be present for the answer to be in the room, given we've got people with a lot of different backgrounds and experiences.
Well, I mean, so, a certain level of expertise, right? So it needs to either be research-based or evidence-based practices that we are going to take a look at and see what worked, what didn't work with that practice, what parts can we pull forward. Where might we want to dig into some actual research? If we don't have the answer in the room, where can we look to answers? Like all of those questions are so important. And like what Nathaniel was saying, like that's my role as a coach, right? Like my our role as coaches is to help develop that self-efficacy, that collective efficacy, and that independence, so that like we're working our way out of a job. So
Hmm.
in the beginning, when I'm working with teachers, with leaders, I'm doing a lot of the modeling. And then it's that like scaffolded gradual release, just like what happens in the classroom until they're feeling confident with the whole process.
Hmm. You know, Dr. Worcester, we all know this, there are some, to use your metaphor, operating rooms where it's people off the street. I mean, I get it. Like, but where you've got a long-term sub surgeon, right? Or a surgeon on emergency contract or whatever. And they're just trying to like flip through the manual of how to give, little Nathaniel his orthopedic surgery, right? And that type of surgery is happening, Allison, in our schools. The bigger problem is, why did we get to that point? Why have we lost so many teachers? Why do we have vacancies still that's going on? And I think it's because, Allison, we have not done a good job of in the past respecting the professional autonomy and practice of our teachers. And
Right.
if I feel like, if I've got a degree, if I've got a master's degree, and you want to limit my professional capacity to the brand new and I've got 10 years of experience or 20 years of experience, and I've worked so hard to hone my craft, but you're mandating that I do the exact same thing as the first year teacher because of equitable whatever, and I feel like I'm just got to, like teachers say student do, I just got a problem with it. To
Yeah.
me, I think is, yeah, we'll have those resources as a foundation, but let me maximize my team's professional capacity, and let's do some action research together, because there's no one that's figured this out. That's why I love teaching. It's no one has figured it out. And even if us three great educators were working with trying to teach kids fractions, we still aren't going to have it figured out, because as good of teachers we are, we're not going to teach all of our kids fractions. And if that's important, if that's an essential standard, we got to roll up our sleeves and do a little action research to figure out how to teach fractions even better, because no one has it figured out. And I think that's the challenge that so much happens, Allison, is like what you were talking about, is that schools, a lot of our cultures are independent contractor ish, right? We hire
Right.
individual teachers, we leave them the hell alone, go in the classrooms, here's the curriculum, here's the pacing guide, here's the resources, here's your TPT account, whatever. Off you go teach. And then we truly have inequitable experiences. And then parents don't like that. And then what do? They go to charter schools, or they go,
Right.
or they say, or then they leave. And then we're stuck with a parking lot full of independent contractors. Any other additional thoughts on that, Allison? Because I know that you see it just like I do.
Yeah, and I would say another issue is that we often aren't looking for causes of success. Like we're analyzing data to look for weaknesses and look for areas that need to be areas for focus, or that there's growth needed. But we're not always, well, I would say we're very infrequently looking at that data to see like who is rocking it.
Yeah.
And like I've had the opportunity to interview a teacher who is getting exceptional results in a school, where like the percent proficiency is, maybe 20%. This teacher, year after year after year, is getting 60% proficiency in her classroom. And, you ask the teacher, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I don't know. Like what I'm doing might not work for everyone. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it will. It
It
absolutely
will.
will.
Yeah.
And then she might say, well, I'm just using like the curriculum. I'm following the pacing guide. Well, so is everybody else. So what are you doing differently? And I don't think we give enough credit or put enough effort, like digging into
We
those
don't.
causes of success. So I think
We
that
don't.
is, and action research allows for that, right?
Especially those
Yeah.
outliers of success. So the
Yes,
ones where
outliers.
everybody else is doing one thing and somebody else is getting phenomenal results, either at a school level as a school leader or as a classroom level as a teacher. And yes, I agree with you 100%, Allison. Those are worth studying and trying to replicate. I do not think you can replicate everything, but we do need to do a better job of learning from success models.
Yeah,
Nathaniel?
yeah. I love the fact that you talk about data just now, and I got thoughts for days on data. And Allison, I'm dying to pick your brain on this one. So I think that in so many of our schools, we've kind of weaponized data, and we're very like hesitant or insecure, um, to have those kinds of conversations that you just talked about. Because, a lot of us, like our data, like our schools are, if you have low scores, you get an F, or, if you have
Right.
high scores, you get an A, and then, and then we look at our benchmark assessment data and all this data that's just flooding us, and we have all these numbers, but we don't have information. And I remember going to a school and, they had the most beautiful Excel spreadsheets you've ever seen, and they had the red kids and the yellow kids and the blue kids and the chartreuse kids and the purple kids and the hyacinth kid. I mean, every color label that you can possibly get. And I asked the team and I said, well, why did you get the results that you got? And no one could speak on that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't speak on the inputs, then the outputs mean nothing.
Right.
And so this is where I think that action research is so awesome that's in your book. It's because let's get really good with one thing, like one
Yes.
small thing, right? I mean, there's about cinder blocks.
I
Cinder
just
blocks.
watched the
Did you watch that thing?
TikTok. Yes.
All right, so we're on the same thing.
Literally like 5 minutes ago.
Eric, do you know about cinder blocks?
I
All
know that
right,
they
Allison, I'm going to share this. You tell me. You tell me if I'm getting it right.
Okay.
So the original inventor of the cinder block had the cinder block that weighed like 100 pounds. It was a block that you would use to build houses and whatnot. But the carpenters and the mason people and this too damn heavy to be able to build things, right? And that was the standard procedure, a big heavy block. So what does his cat do, Allison? He cuts
Cut
holes
some
in it.
holes.
He
Yeah.
cuts hole. He takes out everything. And so now the cinder block, the same design, I don't know how many years ago, is the same design now. Less is more.
Yeah.
Less is stronger. And you know what I was thinking of? Because I'm a geek, essential standards.
Yeah.
What a wonderful I'm going to steal that metaphor, Allison, in all my presentation.
Mm-hmm.
So we have way too many standards that we have to expose our kids to. Even when districts say we've whittled down to the essential standards. Well, how many do you have, central office? 75. I'm like, holy crap, that's still too many.
Or
It
they
doesn't,
just combine a few,
or
right?
they just
Yeah.
combine them, and now they got one standard with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, all the other
Yes.
little standards. So it's hard to do action research when you feel like you've got to cover everything, and coverage does
Mm-hmm.
not equate to quality, and quantity sure doesn't equate to quality. So as a team, let's get really good with a few of these cinder block standards. You know what I mean? Those
Absolutely.
those those big boulders, and let's really like roll up our sleeves. Now, the challenge is, Allison, is not everyone has a coach.
Right.
And the challenge is not every school has a principal that's an instructional leader to be able to guide that work. And so they're kind of floundering. And so what do we talk about? Field trips, the Halloween
Behavior,
party, behavior, how much we hate our principal, how much Dr. Worcester,
schedule.
he's a jerk, we got this consultant Allison coming in, all this
He's
stuff that we talk.
fantastic from what I hear. From what I hear, he's true.
But everything but the
Everything
action
else.
research, right? So how do you start helping schools and school leaders engage in this type of work?
Right. I know. That's like why write books.
That's right.
Right. Because I said my one of my core values is making a difference. And like how can we, spread this message? And one of the messages in our newest book, Less Talk, More Action, is about this idea of try-in instead of buy-in. Like it's freeing leaders up from this idea of like, you don't need to be salespeople. You don't need to convince everybody that this is the right answer. We can just say like, hey, here's the challenge. Here's an idea. Let's implement. Let's give this a fair try. See how it works. Come back together, track the results, and then make adjustments as necessary. Like when I tell teacher teams, just what do you want to try?
Mm,
Give it a try. And then come back and let's talk about how it worked and how it didn't work. Like the end result is so much richer when
mm.
we're trying instead of being people.
Oh, I love that.
Allison, I want to come back to something Nathaniel brought up earlier. But first, again, your book, Less Talk, More Action. Teachers, teacher leaders, principals, go buy this book. It's great,
Thank
it's
you.
great stuff. Nathaniel, you mentioned about why don't teachers stay? Allison, I know in a previous book, you gave like a top 5 reasons of what teachers want to feel valued and empowered before you go over any of those 5. Nathaniel, what do you think is number 1, and which one do you think is not in those top 5? That might be surprising to people. Nathaniel, you first, and then Allison.
Which one do I think that teachers want?
What do you think are some of the top 5? What do you think is number 1, and what do you think? And Allison, I agreed with number 1. So
Okay.
number 1 was on my Family Feud ding. That was number 1 on my list as well. Nathaniel, what do you think was some of the top 5, and what was not on that list? That would be surprising.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Nothing motivates teachers like cupcakes. I think cupcakes, if you could just give cupcakes every single day, I think we would have no more teacher shortage. So cupcakes,
That's it. That's
you know,
number 1.
I got some more. Jeans days, what, you know, we just denim.
Number 2.
We just need to deal with denim. There's something magical, Allison, like denim from top to bottom. If we could just do denim.
Yep, that was 2. Crushing it. In order.
I like this one. Coffee. Yeah, coffee carts, right? Coffee
Coffee
and
bars.
tea.
Yep.
You just with the cart. I think all principals just need to have a cart.
Every day.
I don't even know why principals have an office anymore. God forbid a
Yeah.
principal have an office. You know what I mean? So
that's number 3.
So number 3, coffee. Number 4, costumes, baby. Costumes, right?
Yep,
like every from St. Patrick's Day.
Yep.
You know, you name all the we got to celebrate the Halloween. And was that 4? 4?
That was 4.
And
Yep.
then the top with a bullet, parking passes. Free parking passes. Like preferential parking passes. How did I do?
No.
Allison, what do you think?
You did read. You read the book along with me, so those were the top.
That, yes.
Nathaniel, you crushed it.
I mean, you
Allison,
tried.
I tried. I crushed it, you know.
Allison, do you have a slightly different list than Nathaniel's?
Yes. And it's interesting because I gathered this data pre-Chat GPT. So I asked the question on social media. I asked the question to teachers that I was a principal at the time. So I asked my teachers, teachers that I worked with across the country. And then I had to like tally and calculate all of the results myself because I wasn't even smart and used a Google form. But as I went through all of the results, these could be in any order depending on who the teacher is, but one of the top was to treat time like a precious commodity. And you probably hear it. It's one of the major complaints is we don't have time, and like we have to counter that with the question of how are we using our time?
Yep.
Because there is time. And time is finite. We're not going to find more of it. So how we have to be more efficient. So then the next one is showing teachers they are valued. And there's a difference. I love this quote from another book of mine is What Makes a Great Principal. And in it, we talk about there's a difference between being valued and feeling valued. And like really, I'm fascinated with exploring that bridge between being valued and feeling valued. And it really does come down to how you see teachers. Like, do you see value in them? And then how do you communicate that, right? Like those are 2 important things. Like, so, saying like, we're awesome. I was a principal. My last principalship was Quincy Elementary and we were the Q crew and we're awesome. They're still awesome without me there. But that builds culture and community, but it does not demonstrate to people that they're individually valued. So another one is to ask questions.
Ask questions.
Yeah, pretty simple. Like, don't assume that you know what the response will be. Don't assume that you know, or that teachers don't have important perspective to share. They want to be asked questions. And then the 4th one is then really listen. Because often we're asking questions just to say we asked them, or like we're looking for one particular answer. Like, don't ask a question if there's only one right answer. That's not fair to people. So only ask a question if you really want to hear the answers and really listen. And sometimes we might ask a question and a teacher might give a suggestion or an idea that we can't make happen. That's okay. Like, just circle back to the teacher the group and say like, I appreciate the thought that went into this, and we're going to, put a pin in this. We just can't make it happen right now, or whatever the response is. We just have to have that follow up so that they know we're listening. And then the top, or not the top one, but one of the top five
Yeah.
was to show love for kids and for the work.
Mm.
Because sometimes we wear that badge of way too much to do, or the badge of exhaustion, like as an honor. And really what teachers want is like, they want us to like hype them up about the work. Like, we are in this because
Hmm.
we love the work, and to show them that.
Wow.
Allison, what did not
That's
make the
great.
list?
What was that?
What did not make that list of the top 5?
No
What was
food. Actually, of all the responses that I got, there was only one mention of food. And there
wow.
was no mention of Jean's days, like, and I did those things,
I
right?
know,
Like,
right?
but I didn't do them because I thought that was the answer. Like, it was just fun. Like,
Hmm.
that's part of that showing love for kids and for the work. That's just a little piece of helping teachers feel that they're valued and creating environments where they feel whole.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I think people
interesting.
can do that in a performative way, where
Yep.
if they read some manual that says once a month I need to treat the staff to some food thing and make it some fun, cutesy theme, and they think by doing that they are supporting and motivating their teachers.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's interesting too, because I remember distinctly, it was a couple summers ago, I had a principal come up to me at a conference and say, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm running around, I'm buying all the treats, like, I'm putting things in the lounge, like, we're having theme days," and nobody even says thank you. Nobody even notices. She's like, "I can't keep this up." And it's interesting because like the science around this of hope tells us that we can ignite hope through um, setting and accomplishing micro goals,
Yes.
through expressing gratitude, and through helping others in acts of kindness. So, like, giving the staff the gift of being able to support each other and including them in that process of, like, the fun days, like, have them create, you can create it, and invite them to be a part of that kind
Yeah.
of culture building, community building. It shouldn't all rest on the leader's shoulders, because that's not good for the staff either. They want
No.
to help each other and show kindness to each other.
Allison, I got to give it to you. It goes back, I think it goes back, ties perfectly into action research.
Yeah.
I think teams, like the bandwidth of a teacher, God, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Is like, how many decisions are they making?
1,500 a day.
15 freaking hundred. I think like brain surgeons or like ER nurses probably make, not even brain surgeons, right? Because how often are they doing brain surgery? ER nurses are probably there, and probably like air traffic controllers, right? And then, a lot of our workforce, our moms or working moms, they go home and they got husbands asking them where the
Right.
forks are, where the food. It's like, oh my gosh, stop asking me stuff. Stop asking me to do things, right? Just stop, and dads too. We're exhausted. So I think going back to that action research is allowing teams to have a sense of accomplishment. And
Hmm.
you get that little dopamine hit, like, wow, we can do things. James Clear's book's Atomic Habits. Every leader should read that book about,
Yes.
setting up the situations to be able to have these little small wins every single day. And I think that action research speaks to a culture of celebration, that we've created a culture that our teams can accomplish something, and
Yes.
they have something either tangible or something relatable that they can walk away at the end of the week or even the end of the day saying, our team has accomplished this. See, I see that there's
Yes.
a connection.
Yes, absolutely. Because action research is action, right? Like, it's not just sitting around and talking about things. Like in the beginning of the book, I don't know if you read the dedication, but I think we dedicated it to anybody who sat in a meeting and felt like you were talking in circles. Like, we're
Mm,
tired of talking. When I share the title of this book with teachers, they're like, "Can you please give it to my principal?" I mean, I've had people outside of education say, "Please give it to my leader,"
yeah.
because it just gives this permission of, let's just try something. And self-efficacy, like, I think another term for self-efficacy, speaking of hope, is hope. Hope
Mm,
is not just wishing. Hope is believing in myself. It's believing that I can make a change that will result in a positive outcome. That is also self-efficacy, that I can make a change that results in a positive outcome. Same thing as collective efficacy. Like, we can think of it as collective hope, that together we can make a change, that we can't do it without each other. We need each other, but together we can make some changes that will result in positive outcomes. And we do that through action, not through
Yeah.
talking about
I Eric and I were discussing your book right before you came on, and I'm going to throw out a word,
it. Ooh.
and I'm going to throw out a word. I'm actually going to throw out two words, but we're going to start with one, okay? As our time's starting to just wane a little bit, but I got two words I'm going to throw out, and I'm just want to pick your brain about these words. The first word is lackadaisical.
Oh, I
So that's a
kind of
performer.
thought
That's a performer book.
I
So we're
kind
gonna
of
throw out
thought you might have.
lackadaisical. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Let it stick. Let it simmer a little bit. Allison, this podcast is surely not lackadaisical. So,
No.
but if you could please talk a little bit about that word and how that word means a little bit
Oh,
something to you.
okay. So I hope everybody like still loves me after I tell this story, but we've all made mistakes, right?
And we'll
And
share. We will share some of ours as well.
okay, little baby principal Allison went into a teacher's classroom and did an observation for maybe 10 minutes or so, and then wrote the teacher a note. And in the note, she called the teaching, learning lackadaisical.
Hmm.
Like I did that. I left this teacher a note, and I didn't even like it wasn't even in my consciousness until
Wow.
I had started putting some work out around effective using teacher observation and evaluation as a teacher empowerment tool instead of like this kind of judgment scary kind of tool.
Hmm.
And the teacher I did that to messaged me, thank goodness, privately on Facebook. She didn't put me on blast, and I really appreciate her for that.
Wow. She could have. She could
She
have.
could have. And she said, I mean, she said really nice things to me. And in fact, I like put word for word what she said in leading the whole teacher. But she said, there was one time, Allison, that you crushed me as a teacher, and it had a significant impact on the trajectory of her career. And I thought, oh my gosh, like at first, like when you get feedback like that, of course, you're a little bit like, wait, I didn't do that. Or if I did, there's probably a really good reason for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in reality, like there was not a lot of energy, there was not a lot of engagement. But what can a teacher do with a word like lackadaisical other than like crawl in a corner and cry? Like that's not an action-oriented word. And I just think like had I followed the steps I know now to follow, which would be don't leave a note other than like thank you for the visit. Can you, I'd love to debrief. Can you meet with me tomorrow during your plan time? Whatever the
Mm-hmm.
case is. And then have that conversation. But don't start with saying like, hey, like, kids had their heads down when you're teaching math. What was going on?
Mm-hmm.
You can start with a question. Like, what's one thing you noticed about student engagement? Here's one thing I noticed. Did you notice the same thing? Like, because teachers, like, after we walk out of the classroom after an observation, they're not just like, oh, okay, that's over. They're like going through it minute by minute in their minds, thinking, okay, what did my principal think? What's the feedback going to be? Like they're reflecting and self-evaluating. And we need to honor that by having a feedback conversation, not just written feedback, and starting that feedback conversation, honoring the reflective educator who is in front of us and giving them an opportunity to share their reflections.
Yeah,
I
that's
appreciate you sharing
interesting.
that vulnerability because it just
Yeah.
shows as leaders, we all have done some kind of iteration of that, whether we know it or not. But it's great to read a book where you are writing and just being so vulnerable about something that happened. It gives us more license to be vulnerable ourselves and learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
Nathaniel, I'll share mine, but first, I'm going to give you an opportunity to share if you have a story like that.
Um, I probably have like 1,000 screw up stories, man. It's I was thinking about this, Allison, as you were talking, and just real quick, I've got a. It's not going to be sort of like that, but and I was talking with Eric about this. I interviewed a teacher, and I just didn't think she was ready for our school culture. And I didn't quite think that she was ready for the team that we were going to be putting where the opening was, because I was very big on team dynamics, and
Hmm.
I had to look at the psychology and the sociology of teams and everything, because I just didn't want to plug and play, and I wanted to set this teacher up for success. But I don't think she asked me for feedback why she didn't get the job. And I think I was a little too curt in the
Mm.
feedback, and I basically said, "Well, you're not ready." And it's really not what I meant, but however it came across, I didn't take the time to give her the feedback that she really
Mm.
deserved. And she was an outstanding candidate. So she goes off and she is crushing it as a teacher at another school. Couple years later, full circle, we have an opportunity for another position. She interviews with us again. And so I was like, I am not going to screw this up, right? And so I told her, like, listen, you never really had anything to prove. It really just was that. She said, yeah, you said I wasn't X, Y, and Z. I was like, let me. The universe was giving me a do-over, right?
Right.
She was fantastic at our school. She ended up becoming an assistant principal and becoming a principal. So she was fantastic. But sometimes we don't have those do-overs, right? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's just we just walk in our own kind of like shadows. So I really appreciate that. So anyway, that's my sort of story. Eric,
Mm-hmm.
what do you got, Dr. Worcester?
So I was going to tell a different story, Nathaniel, but I'm shifting a little bit from what I
Okay.
had we talked about to this one. It was a staff meeting, and my teachers were uniformly phenomenal. So if any are watching, I love you guys. You're great. I think that our K to two are, and they were phenomenal teachers. I think some math result must have come out where the math scores just weren't as high as ELA. And I felt my teachers were extremely invested and passionate about ELA instruction. And I just wanted them to bring that same passion to math
Mm.
instruction, which I called math shin. I was like, I want to see your math shin, and left it at that. And it wasn't, of course, I'm saying it wasn't a big deal to me. I'm always pretty chill, so I didn't think I presented it in anything that was off-putting. Didn't hear anything. And then like a week or two later, I did get some like sarcastic remarks about maths, and one of the teachers finally, who was again a phenomenal teacher, came and talked to me, and she's like, I've been really upset, and I need to talk to you about it because I've had trouble sleeping, and I've just been
Wow.
just so upset that you think I don't care about teaching math.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I never intended for anybody in this school to think that I don't think you were passionate about everything you teach. I probably could have phrased that better, but I know if she was upset, I'm sure there were others. And it's very easy to say things as a school leader and have no understanding of the power that those words can have. So I
Oh yeah.
appreciate my team was pretty good about letting me know, either right away or eventually, that they were bothered. But hearing those stories again, I think is important for leaders to know, that your words are powerful, and it's great to get that kind of feedback. If the teachers didn't feel comfortable talking to me, I probably would have had no teachers left at my school because
Mm.
they wouldn't stay with somebody they couldn't give feedback to.
Mm.
But you got to be vulnerable for that. You got to be willing to listen.
There you go. I love it. I love it. All right, Allison. Next word is serendipity.
Oh, okay.
There
I
you
like that
go.
one.
Let's unpack that one. Let's unpack serendipity, right? Isn't that a John Cusack movie?
Yes, 2001. That's when I fell in love with the idea and the word. And I was teaching seventh and eighth graders at the time, and they said, "Hey, Elson, you get to teach a character education class because that's what we called it back then." And I was passionate about helping our students become the best versions of themselves, so I was all into it. But I figured the seventh and eighth graders would kind of roll their eyes as they walked in the room if I called it character education. So I tricked them
Mm.
and I called it serendipity. And it was interesting because it was really, and they wrote in journals back and forth to me that we did call serendipity journals, which happens to be the name of my chapter book that's for middle grades students. But in that like process, we kind of unpacked the idea of serendipity together. So like I
Mm.
didn't come up with this on my own. It was alongside these seventh and eighth grade students because they're like, wait, like what if like we went around our lives and looked for happy accidents and beautiful lessons in everything we experience? Because everything we go through offers us an opportunity to become a better version of ourselves. If that's the lens we're looking through, like if we
Mm.
look for those beautiful gifts and happy accidents in everything we experience. And I'm not, sometimes I did have a teacher give me feedback that she felt pressure to be positive around me, but I'm
Mm.
also not a Pollyanna.
Mhm.
Like some things just stink right now. And we need to like feel that and be okay with feeling that. But there's just like this little hope again, like this little
Yeah.
Mm.
flame of hope inside of us when we know we can become a better version of ourselves because of all the challenges we face, because of everything we go through. And that can get us through like the really stinky times, that little flame of hope.
Wow.
Before
Great
we move
answer.
past this, important, very important follow up. Favorite John Cusack movie?
Oh, what is it? Say
Say anything.
Anything?
anything. Not say nothing. Say anything. Yes. I was for
Nathaniel?
anybody who's just listening, I was holding up the like
Oh, you're
boombox
holding
above my
the
head.
boombox?
Yes.
In
It's a great
in
movie.
your eyes, because you got
I
best
got
act, right?
Oh yes.
Those
It is
songs
all.
were superlative.
In Your
They all come
Eyes.
together.
I got two that's a tie with a bullet.
Okay.
High Fidelity. Gosh, I love that movie. It's such a good one. And then Better Off Dead. So those two
Mm.
movies
Oh,
are
okay.
like, yeah, Better Off Dead. Yeah,
And I'm
very
going
good.
with Gross Point Blank.
Grosse Pointe Blank, taking place in Michigan,
Yep.
right? It takes
Which is-
place in
yep.
Detroit, Michigan, or outside or
All
Grosse
comes-
Pointe.
it all
Very
comes
good.
back.
Allyson, we're going to wrap this up a little bit, and I'm going to steal Dr. Worcester's thunder a little bit because you've been talking about hope. So,
Mm.
what gives you hope, Allyson Apsey?
Oh, the educators that I get to work with, not every day, because this week I'm at home, but across the country, like I'm in hundreds of classrooms meeting with, I can't even tell you how many educators throughout the year. And it's so interesting because I walked into a new school about a month ago, a school that I hadn't worked with, and I'm like, okay, it was a like a new community for me. I'm like, oh gosh, you just question, like, I hope I'm going to have impact here. And then every single time, teachers, leaders prove to me that we're all in this work for the same reason, that we all want to help and support our students. And there's some who have maybe lost their way a little bit, or, we have lost their trust for one reason or the other, or we have shown them over and over again, we're going to ask you to do something and then we're going to scrap it. And then we'll ask you to do something different the next year and then scrap it. And, but we can, like, we can all come back together around like our, I know it sounds cliche, but our purpose. Like, there's nobody who went into education who wanted to mess kids up.
Yeah,
They
right.
went into education because they want to help kids. And that gives me hope every single day.
Allyson, where can people find you?
In Gaylord, Michigan. No, but also you can AllysonApsey.com. I'm the director of client relations for Creative Leadership Solutions, and the founder of that organization is Dr. Douglas Reeves, a brilliant educational researcher. And you can find me at creativeleadership.net, or you can just email me, AllysonApsey@gmail.com. If you know how to spell my name, you can find me on all the things.
I love it. We had Doug Reeves on our show.
We
You
did.
did.
He
was
wears a
great.
bow tie. He was great.
He was great. He was great. Great
Yes.
episode.
I don't like
Yeah.
bow ties. I got to tell him. I know it's his thing. You do your thing, but like bow ties, I don't know. They seem kind
Don't
of
Allyson,
tell
restricting.
I accept him as he is.
Do not tell him. He's brilliant. And yes,
I
I'm
love it. I
so
love
lucky
it.
to work closely with him.
Allyson, thank you very much for haunting us with your presence. Hey, it's good. This was not lackadaisical. Very serendipitous. Serendipitous. And thank you just so much for joining us on this Halloween edition of the Community Connection. Allyson, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.